how deep will it get when it comes back.
I mean, we're not making it sound like this is turning into nothing, because obviously folks are still trying to sleep and get some rest tonight. They're hearing this thing howl outside their windows and doors, and so this is still something that it's got some power to it. It could potentially maybe drop down to a 1 here soon. Are we expecting that?
It doesn't look a lot weaker right now than it has in the last hour or two. So, but you're only talking 5 miles an hour. From where it is now at 100, if it went down to 95, it would drop down to Category 1 hurricane. So, 5 miles an hour really doesn't matter. It's more of a category as opposed to the reality, how it impacts our viewers. And right now, our viewers are still being impacted by very heavy winds from Pasco, Hernando, Citrus, and even into central Pinellas and Hillsborough County. Again, we're trying to be kind of descriptive for the radio viewers because we know so many folks out there are listening on radio. But easily the heaviest rain right now, in fact, most of the rain is pretty much right on the Pinellas, Hillsborough, Pasco County border, northern Polk, and it's all moving north. So at this rate, in a couple of hours, the rains will be over. The winds will linger for a while longer. We're still going to have tropical storm force winds through early on tomorrow morning. And then once we hit sunrise, I think that's when we're going to have to especially focus on Hardy and Polk County, because they're the areas that had winds close to 100 miles an hour.
Okay, we want to go to Pinellas County and see what it's like out there. Sarah Hollenbach is in downtown St. Pete. Sarah, how is it where you are?
I got to tell you guys, it's a lot better from the last time you saw it. It's only about 20 minutes ago. Check it out. This is 2nd Street South, and you can see down there, it's actually looking really good. We're not seeing a whole lot of rain. We're not seeing really any flooding on at least these major streets in downtown St. Pete. And while the wind is still gusting pretty bad, I'm not really seeing any more flickering power down here. So maybe that's a sign that things are getting better. I'm not quite sure if that's too premature to say, but it's looking very much better from our perspective. We're on the 7th floor here of a parking garage. So we're really, we were getting whipped around very bad, but it seems that those winds, at least for now, have started to die down. Now, I know a lot of people here in Pinellas County, though, have lost power within the past hour. I've seen on Twitter a lot of people, thousands of people, now out of power, but hopefully maybe those who still have it will be able to keep it a little bit longer. Reporting live here in downtown St. Pete, I'm Sarah Hollenbach, ABC Action News.
Sarah, thank you. We want to go even further south from where you are. We'll head to Sarasota now. Wendy Lane is standing by to see how conditions are out there. Wendy?
Yeah, Wendy, the rain has let up. It hasn't been raining here for quite some time. And everyone in the hotel that we're staying at is asking, is it over? Is it past us? Well, that wind isn't. I know Dennis just showed just a little bit ago, these wind gusts here in Sarasota are still 55 miles per hour, and we can speak for that because it is incredibly gusty and windy out here. It comes in spurts like we've been seeing with everybody else. But that wind, it'll whip you around at times, and it really, it'll hurt you if something comes flying at you. So don't go outside yet. Don't think that this is gone and over with if you're down south, seeing that storm is moving north, because if you're even inside, like I was earlier in my room in the dark because we lost power at around 6 o'clock here at the hotel, the wind, I mean, the windows were rattling really hard. Even inside now, if you're sitting inside, it's just howling. But we talked to somebody a little bit ago, actually our crew, that drove back to the hotel after their shift, and they said it was really dangerous out there on the roads. That there were trees down in the roads, there were light poles down in the roads. So whoever's thinking, hey, this is over, I'm gonna go head out and see what it looks like out there, don't go out there. Even though there is there's no curfew here in Sarasota County, there is in Manatee County, and we're like right on the edge of Manatee County, and we've been seeing law enforcement driving around with their lights on. They will pull you over and ask you what you're doing and possibly give you a ticket if you're out driving around trying to check out what's going on. Plus, it's incredibly dangerous. We showed you a little bit ago, I mean, even just right outside of our hotel, because we're not going far because it's just too windy. But, I mean, there's all kinds of debris, everything just right at our feet laying down. This, we found out, is part of a light that was on this fence over on the other side of the pool and just completely broken into pieces. Now that light was actually probably about 100 yards away from where we are right now. So it has gone a long ways, and now it's kind of settled in this corner. But we are seeing the wind continue to whip around. So those strong wind gusts are coming from one angle, but they're so strong, even in a corner here, you can feel it almost whip you around like that. So this definitely is not over for people who are in the hotel asking, okay, is it over? Is it okay now? Yeah, the wind is not over here. I know Dennis has been talking about possibly even us getting some more rain with that storm whipping back around. So prepare yourselves for that possibly too if you are out in Manatee and Sarasota counties. In Sarasota, Wendy Lane, ABC Action News.
Wendy, thank you so much. And, Dennis, it just proves, she's all the way down in Sarasota and still getting those winds, just proves how big this storm is and how it's not letting up just yet, right, Dennis? Because we talked about it's just Polk, Pasco, all these other north from there, they're also getting more wind and rain. So we've got a long ways to go before this storm is over.
Yeah, Wendy, I mean, that's exactly right. I mean, we're still, even if we don't have hurricane force conditions later on tonight, which we still could, at least for a few more hours, we're going to have tropical storm force winds through the overnight and right on into tomorrow morning. And I'm telling you right now, this is the same cluster that gave winds gusting close to 100 miles an hour in Polk County, and now it is moving into Sumter, eastern Pasco, and eventually into Citrus and Hernando as well. So areas up north that haven't had quite as much to deal with yet, you're fortunate because the storm is definitely weaker right now than it was, so the potential for more wind is a little bit lower, but you still have some very heavy weather Pasco County northward, and now there are the winds coming in. This is where I'm curious. We're going to start getting some information maybe from Siesta Key, Sarasota, Venice. I'd like actually maybe to make some calls in those areas to see if that water is coming back in, because now would be the time, especially starting, it looks as though, just south of Sarasota around Venice and then up to the north. That's when the wind is really bringing back the water into the coastal areas. So remember, that coincides with high tide. So that was kind of one of our bigger concerns as well, not knowing how big the surge would be and throwing it along with high tide. But I mean, look at our northern counties, anywhere pretty much from the Pasco-Hillsborough County line through northern Pinellas, northern Polk, pretty much from I-4 northward through the villages, up toward Claremont, back toward most of Citrus and Hernando. This is all rotating back counterclockwise, okay? So these storms that are across the interior counties are going to come back to the beach. They don't have nearly as much wind as they did maybe an hour ago, but we're talking about wind gusts of about 60 to 70 miles an hour. So this is nothing to sneeze at. Any of this could create more power outages and, of course, trees down and whatnot. So what we're hearing from most folks in the area, a lot of tree branches, a lot of debris, not as many big trees coming down, but there are some, and I'm sure tomorrow morning we're going to be waking up to some trees on some roofs, some roof damage, some blue tarps, but certainly not as bad as it could have been. There's the bigger picture, and like I said, this storm is still massive, and it is still creating very heavy weather. Remember when Justin talked about lightning that he saw from our balcony a few minutes ago? Well, there it is. That's what he was seeing. From the storm, maybe about 75 miles east of the east coast. But these storms have such high cloud tops. I mean, these things are so massive that you're able to see that light along with. I mean, in the summertime, you can usually see a thunderstorm over the east coast anyway. But when you get something like this, it even makes it more visible when you see that lightning, in addition, of course, to the transformers that are popping as well. So the tornado watch across our area, the majority of the area, has expired, and it did not get reissued. So that's some good news. Current wind speeds right now, winds of about 40 miles an hour, these are sustained. But the wind gusts are the things that we're still watching. Orlando 62, 76 right now in Daytona, the wind speed. And Polk County had most of the wind in the last hour and a half. And let's go to Brenda Lise Gonzalez right now in Polk County with an update on what's going on there. Brenda Lise?
Yeah, we've got really strong wind gusts right now over here. We've heard of reports area of down trees, damage, blown out windows, Bartow, other parts for me. They're thinking that the damage is pretty significant so far from what they've heard. So far, though, good news is no reports of injuries here in the area. Take a look. It's hard to stand here right now. This is the worst of it right now. Lakeland police had to rescue a woman and a 10-month-old after they got stuck in a 4-foot ditch. We're hearing reports also of another rescue when a tree fell down at an apartment complex. 8 people displaced. We've shown you those pictures of that damage. Thankfully, no one injured there. Those people are now in shelters or staying with family. But again, we are hearing now reports coming in of significant damage around this area. Back to you, Dennis. Let's go back to this flag just to show you how strong these winds are, Dennis. Take a look at this. Huge gusts here, hard to stand. This is the worst we've seen, and again, reports of blown out windows, down trees, all over the area right now. Lakeland as well. I've seen pictures and tweets of flooding around Lakeland as well.
Dennis, for those who are watching or listening in Polk County, how much longer will they be experiencing these intense winds?
Well, the rain is ending. They're still right on the southern fringe of what was the eye of Irma. Now it's just the center because it's no longer an eye. But they probably are going to have this for another hour or so, I'd say. Now, these winds that she's showing, as heavy as they are, still pale in comparison to what they were looking at an hour ago. Those winds, I was thinking that we just saw maybe 65, 70. There were winds close to 100 miles an hour in Polk County when the Weather Service issued the extreme wind warning. And it was a rather large area in Polk County. So that's what concerns me tomorrow morning when the sun rises. We're going to look out there, and I think we're going to see some significant damage. Not so much structural damage, but definitely damage from trees down, maybe some windows blown in, that sort of thing. Because when you get to 100 miles an hour, that kind of starts to raise the bar a little bit. Another reason why we were so concerned, because remember, originally, if the track of this storm had stayed just offshore, everybody would have had 100-mile-an-hour winds and then some. So that's why we were so concerned over the last 24 hours when that track went all the way beyond our coastline and into the Gulf of Mexico. And then you start thinking, well, could it go even farther west and gain even more strength? Because it was just so back and forth for the last 4 or 5 days. Right now, Category 2, expected to be Category 1 by tomorrow morning, which, again, is really only 5 miles an hour lower, but it's actually expected to drop down to 75. So that's just barely a hurricane. So if this forecast verifies, once it's going over Gainesville, or maybe just northwest of Gainesville, either in Lafayette County or somewhere around Lake City, I would say this will then become a tropical storm and dissipate pretty much shortly thereafter. It's already having a tough time because you can see the southern half. And for folks listening on the radio, imagine looking at a hurricane that the top half is looking healthy like any other hurricane and the bottom half is gone. So there's a live picture again back from Lakeland at the EOC, and there's that wind. I mean, that's wind gusting probably up to about 65, 70 miles an hour. So that's going to continue for at least another, well, in the Lakeland area, probably another 20 minutes or so. There, right there, you can see on radar, there it is. Well, and if you can't see, I'm, again, remembering a lot of folks listening, the southern flank of this rain extends just about to I-4. So as this goes north, it's going to continue to take the wind away with it. Now, our Maricela Burgos is live. Is she in Citrus County, I believe, right?
Yeah, Dennis, I'm in Inverness specifically, and US 41 is right behind me. You can see, I'm going to show you with my light just the wind and the trees blowing in the wind. It's raining, obviously, significantly. Let me see if you guys can hear me. Can you guys hear me? I'm hoping that you guys can. But we're in this downtown plaza area, and so you can see how much wind activity there is out here and how much rain there is. I think in a couple of hours, once this blows through, we'll be able to assess the damage, go around, and show you guys how bad it got here in Citrus County. I know the biggest concern is flooding for them, and so that's going to be what they're going to be watching, at least on the western part of the county as well as the eastern part of the county. But I did want to